Coming up, the TL29 Electrician's knife. I have 4 new blades in the state of the collection, and Kukri knives, ancient to modern. I'm Bob DeMarco. This is the Knife Junkie podcast.
Welcome to the Knife Junkie podcast, your weekly dose of knife news and information about knives and knife collecting. Here's your host, Bob the Knife Junkie DeMarco.
Welcome back to the show. One of my favorite comments from this past week on the James Williams interview was from Sean Clark. He said, love his intensity. And boy, that's an understatement. I have a Williams blade Quaken 3.5-inch apocalyptic blade and fat copper scales made by TRC, great EDC. Yes, he is quite an intense guy. And man, you could have him on a show for 3 hours and not get through all he's got to say. Next comment was from Jason Small, who says, I've never heard of James before, and wow, what an impressive guy. I've recently started checking out the Sistema stuff, that's that Russian martial art, and it's weird and cool. I like James. Well, I too like James, and Jason, I know Jason a little bit from Thursday Night Knives, and I've seen his collection, and I'm betting he knows kind of James Williams, but didn't really know the man. So I'm always glad I can bring these kind of luminaries to light here on the show. James Williams doesn't need me, but maybe you guys need me to bring him out for all of you to see and to learn from. Very cool guy, pushing 80 and still stout and sturdy. And I would never, ever want to mess with that guy. All right. That said, let's get to a pocket check.
What's in his pocket? Let's find out. Here's the Knife Junkie with his pocket check of knives.
In my front right pocket, one that's gotten a lot of carry since I got it about 2 months ago, I guess I'd say at this point, the Kansept Bison, a Ray Laconico design. That's a 4 1/4-inch blade, beautiful S35 VN Bowie style blade with a very unique looking handle with the integral guards on the top and the bottom for your thumb and forefingers. This is a very elegant and also kind of nasty knife. Nasty meaning you can sort of surmise some of its greatest qualities, but not a usual sort of Ray Laconico knife. He does oftentimes much more simple and elegant knives with drop points and beautiful stuff, usually much smaller than this. But I've always had a fascination with his knives. Don't really have any, I don't think, besides this one. So when this one dropped, I had to get it. Really well made from Kansept. One of my favorite Chinese production companies out there is Kansept Knives. Made up of some alum from Kaiser, so they know what they're doing. All right, next up in my front right pocket, right next to this one, but in a leather slip, I had the second knife ever released by Jack Wolf Knives, the Laid Back Jack. This was back in the M390 blade steel days. Now they're on S90V. A majority of their knives at this point are S90V. Really, really thin hollow ground, full height hollow ground blade. Beautiful, just sway back. Not construction. What's the word I'm looking for? Profile with a bit of a straighter handle than you see on a lot of traditional swaybacks. Just an awesome knife with great walk and talk and everything else you want out of a slip joint knife. I really love these. I've been revisiting some of my older Jack Wolfs. They just keep dropping better and better, newer and newer. But it's nice to go back and see where they started. And where they started, they started on third base already. So just an amazing knife right there. Next up, this one, I don't carry too much, but I love this one. A much coveted knife. As a matter of fact, I coveted it from others until it was very generously offered to me in a trade by my buddy Strings right here. You can converse with him on Thursday Night Knives, and he's like, I know you want a Desperado. I've had one for years. It's in great condition. I'll trade you. And we made a trade. And, like you think when you make a trade, I made out like a bandit. I love this knife. Hopefully he's happy with the knife he got, but I always wanted one of these. You know, I'm a huge sucker for the Vaquero blade style, and this is the old blade style, so it's slightly less serpentine, but equally wicked. And then this one with that craton egg-shaped handle really nestles in the hand very nicely. Feels great in this forward grip. I'm not so sure about it in reverse grip. I feel like you need some thumb pressure down to really shore this up so it doesn't twist in hand. But I haven't really tried in any sort of ballistic testing. So who knows? Maybe it's great in reverse grip and I just don't know it yet. And last up, my ESK today was, yeah, you've been seeing this a lot, so I hope you're not getting tired of it. But the positively beautiful Hogtooth Knives Fighting Bowie. This one is a commission. I commissioned Matt Chase to make me a sort of Bagwell-esque send up, something to pay homage to Bill Bagwell and his beautiful devil's horned style guarded fighting Bowie knives like the Hell's Bells, etc. And this is the beautiful thing he came up with. W1 or 2? What is it? W1 steel, I guess. Correct me, I'm sure I'm wrong. With the hamon, so beautiful, and this Australian ringed Gidgee wood on that coffin-shaped handle. I love this thing. I've been really flowing with it and doing my Carenza with it. That's basically shadow boxing with a knife, and it just feels great in hand, and I absolutely love this knife. So this is what I had on me today, a happy little grouping. I had the Hogtooth Fighting Bowie on me. I had the Cold Steel Desperado, sadly no longer available from Cold Steel. Better be careful sheathing that. I had the first run of the Laid Back Jack from Jack Wolf Knives, and the Bison. Nice, big, beautiful clip point blade from Ray Laconico in Kansept Knives. Just a quick announcement about the Knife Junkie Zippos. I have sold, I only had 6 of them made, kept one for myself. I've sold the other 5, and I think I'm going to make another little run of them. Seems like people like them. They're not like jumping off the shelves, but I've had enough people want to buy them. I'll do another 5 if people are interested. I'll get them out to you. They're $50. They cost me, well, less than $50, obviously. I got to make it worth the shipping. These do not come with that jet insert. That's something I have in there for my cigars. You can buy those aftermarket. It comes with the traditional wick. So if you like the Knife Junkie Zippos, just let me know, and I will be ordering more, and I will get those out to you. Speaking of giveaways, which we weren't really doing, we were speaking about sellaways, but this is a giveaway for the Gentleman Junkie this month, the month of October 2025. LT Wright sent me this beautiful Frontier Valley knife for me to give away to one of you, handmade by LT Wright in his facility. I guess factory would be a little bit much. It is a beautiful place from what I could see from his videos, and this is where he makes these gorgeous knives. I have had the Northern Hunter, the small Northern Hunter, for a few weeks now, and I'm absolutely crazy about it. This is his highest selling knife right now. It's sort of a do-everything sort of EDC fixed blade for camp, for trail, for around the house. This is an AEBL, and it's a full height flat grind with a 90-degree spine that throws sparks like they're going out of style. I've been keeping this in the sheath, so it has drawn some of the oil. This was freshly oiled when it showed up to me out of the micarta, but that'll, you can oil it up when you win it, or it will, quick enough, the more you use it, it will take on your own oils, and that micarta will become darker. I really, really love LT Wright knives. I love the sheaths, and he himself is a great guy, and I'm really honored to be giving this away. And thank you so much, LT, for sending this to me to send along to one of my lucky gentleman junkies. You can become a gentleman junkie by joining on Patreon, TheKnifeJunkie.com/Patreon, or you can join right here on YouTube, actually. Join us here. One quick thing before we go to Knife Life News, I want to tell you a little bit more about Patreon, because this is something cool that Jim, who works his magic behind the switcher, as you know, one of the things he does is he puts up knife notes. He puts up makers, notes about makers, articles about makers and different blade styles and the like. Well, this is the newest one, and it's basically how to clean your knife properly. Don't be such a barbarian. Keep it clean and take care of that knife, and it'll take care of you. So he put up a whole article on this, and it's nice and to the point, and you get to the point. You see what I did there? And you get one of these every week, along with other things. Friday funnies, the Maker's Corner, you know, where he talks about different makers and specific knives throughout history. So it is awesome. Just go to TheKnifeJunkie.com/Patreon and check that out, and see all the things we have to offer. You can scan the QR code on your screen. If you sign up for a year at once, you save 12%. Again, that's TheKnifeJunkie.com/Patreon.
Want to sell your custom knives online? With LaunchCart, you can easily create your own e-commerce store. No coding required. LaunchCart is designed for knife makers like you, with built-in tools to showcase your craftsmanship, manage orders, and grow your brand. It's fast, flexible, and even includes low-cost payment processing to help you keep more of your profits. Start your online knife store today at TheKnifeJunkie.com/launch and turn your passion into a business.
You're listening to the Knife Junkie podcast. And now here's the Knife Junkie with the Knife Life News.
Okay, first up in Knife Life News from Tashi, Bharucha, and Civivi comes the Kukri. I'm not sure how you pronounce it, but I'm a big fan of Tashi Bharucha's designs, and he's also a super cool and classy gentleman out of France who's been designing and making knives, I don't know, I guess 15, 20 years at this point, but he's like a serious designer and architect type, and he's got a serious career outside of knives. This is just kind of something cool that he does, which is impressive to me. But he's got his first collaboration with Civivi, and this is his modernized take on the Higo no Kami. And you know the Higo no Kami, that's like the Japanese version of the Open L, you know. It's been around for a little bit over 100 years. It's a folding knife. It's a friction folder, and it has a sort of vaguely upswept sheep's point blade. Well, that's what he's doing here. He's making a very small version of the Higo no Kami for Civivi. So this is 2 inches of blade steel. That's a full flat ground blade of Nitro V. Again, a modified sheep's foot. Now, it has a flipper, but it's very subtle. You'll see it when it's closed, and it's not jimped like the pommel there, where you would think that that's like a front flipper, but it's not, at least not yet. And we are still in prototype form here, so we'll see. That might change. Yeah. So as you see the picture there, you can see it all laid out. So a liner lock instead of a friction folder from a traditional Higo no Kami. This is coming with wood or carbon fiber scales. So far, you know how it is with Civivi, though. I'm sure they are likely to bust out a whole bunch of different cover materials and colorways. 1.57 ounces, and though there is no release date, there is a price, and the MSRP for this will be $70. Next up, another prototype from Civivi. This also has no release date. This one looks really cool, especially the blade. This is called the Lunaris. It's an in-house design from Civivi, and they do awesome stuff when they keep it in-house. And as I mentioned, this is also in prototype form. This is a 3.43 inch modified Wharncliffe, modified just because it's got all of the cool features to it, like the finger choil, the flipper, traditional flipper, and that curving fuller. Very, very nice looking knife. So this is a liner lock with a flipper, and that fuller is intended for middle finger flickage and slow rollage with the thumb. The prototypes so far are coming in this purple or also purple and yellow, or also a red and black. And I have to say, a little busy, too many notes for me personally on the handle, but I love that blade so much. I'd like to get a crack at this one when it comes out. G10 and deep carry pocket clip, though on this prototype format, it is not ambidextrous, but who knows how that'll change. Again, no date release for this, but we do have a price, and that is $90. So tell me what you think about that. I think it's pretty cool. Let me pull up something here. I know this is bad TV, but I wanted to read you a quote, and it just there we go. All right, last up in Knife Life news, this is kind of interesting news from RoseCraft, and I have to say I'm not 100% surprised by this. RoseCraft is discontinuing its modern folder lineup, and I have one modern RoseCraft knife. I've heard good things about them, high quality and all that. But I always thought that they were definitely living in the shadow of their traditional slip joint offerings. And apparently that's how the company feels, and that's how the public feels at large. So they are discontinuing the modern folders. And for a while, knives like the one you see on screen will be available, and they will be at, discounts for sure until they are done with them. And here's a quote from the company. While our modern knives have the same quality of materials and workmanship, our customers seem to love other categories way more, especially our traditional slip joint knives. This is something they wrote on the website. That's why we've decided to move from the modern knives altogether and focus on our modern traditional, and fixed blade lines. Gotta say, I am, like I said, not surprised, but also I'm not mad. The modern style knives that they make never really resonated with me, and I guess they haven't resonated with others, at least not nearly as much as their really, really cool and beautifully designed and well executed traditional slip joint style knives. All right, still to come, we have the state of the collection. I have 4 new blades I'm going to show off. We're going to take a look at some Kukri knives. But before we get there, let's take a look at the TL29 Electrician's knife.
You're listening to the Knife Junkie podcast. Here's some cool knife history with the Knife Junkie's The First Tool.
The TL29 Electrician's knife. Okay, picture this. It's the 1940s. A soldier crouches in a muddy foxhole in Europe. In his hand isn't a rifle or a grenade, but a humble folding knife, stamped with a simple code, TL29. To most people, it looks like any other pocket knife, but to electricians, linemen, and soldiers alike, it was a tool of survival. The TL29 was born out of necessity in the early 20th century as a world wired itself with telegraphs, telephones, and electricity. The US military realized it needed a dependable knife for its signal corps, something compact, rugged, and specialized. So around World War I, the quartermaster issued a specification: tool, linemen's, number 29. And that's where the name comes from, TL29. At first glance, it's unassuming: a 2-bladed folder, 1 standard spear point blade for cutting, and 1 flathead screwdriver that could also be locked in place for prying, scraping, and other sorts of jobs with insulated wires. That screwdriver blade even had a notch for stripping, simple but effective. Pair that with durable wooden scales, usually blackened for a no-nonsense look, and you have a knife that could take a beating. By World War II, millions of TL29s were in circulation. Electricians carried them, yes, but also so did mechanics, radio operators, and everyday GIs who found 100 uses for that screwdriver blade in the field. And because they were government issued, they were built by dozens of American cutlery companies: Camillus, Ulster, Kingston, Imperial, Case, or Cutmaster. This was my grandfather's. For collectors today, that means TL29s exist in a wide range of subtle variations, each stamped with a maker's mark and each telling its own story. But here's the charm of the TL29. It wasn't glamorous, it wasn't a Bowie or a stiletto, it was a working man's knife. Soldiers came home and kept them in their toolbox. Linemen clipped them to the belt with a bale rig, this bale ring right here. Farmers tossed them into their overalls pockets. It became one of those knives that simply did the job. Even today, the TL29 design lives on. Some companies make electricians' knives in that same pattern a century later. Because when something works, well, why change it? The TL29 rather reminds us that knives aren't always about flash or fame. Sometimes the most important blade is the quiet one, the tool that keeps the lights on, the radios working, and the wires humming. The TL29 is a knife that powered a newly wired world. Now let's get to the state of the collection.
Adventure Delivered. Your monthly subscription for hand-picked outdoor, survival, EDC, and other cool gear from our expert team of outdoor professionals. TheKnifeJunkie.com/battlebox.
This first one comes to me from James. Yes, that's right. Jim was fixing his garage, going through his garage, getting rid of some old empty boxes and taking care of business on a Saturday. And look at what he came up with. Look at what he found. And he knew that I would love this thing. Now, this is a straight razor from Sheffield, England, and it's very hard to read. I have yet to polish this. I am a little worried that when I do, it will remove some of the writing here. So I got to be very careful. But it is very sharp, especially now that I've run it over the ceramic and the strop. And it's got this beautiful early acrylic style handle. Just a gorgeous, gorgeous razor. Incidentally, before I could shave myself when I was like 12 or so, in the middle of the 80s, and GQ was a big magazine, I thought, when I'm older, I'm going to be a classy gentleman, and the only thing I'm going to do is shave with straight razors. And I've tried it a few times, and it hasn't gone well for me. So I like to go to the barber every once in a while for a razor shave. But is that not totally sweet? And yet again, thank you, Jim, for this. I told him I should probably keep it in my boot. This is the kind of thing you pull out when someone knocks you down and they think they got the drop on you. And suddenly, you got this razor. I'm going to cut you, sucker. So thank you very much, Jim. I love this thing. And next time you all see it, it will be polished up, and I'll know what the name is. But like I said, I'm worried about abrading the name off. All right, next up, this just arrived. Like, I've had this for an hour in my possession, and it is super cool. This is from Piratech. This is called the Tsunami, and it is a beautiful S90V blade. Reminds me a little bit of the 940, and a titanium body here. Now, I've seen other people with this knife mention that the scales are held on by magnets and that they come off. I have no evidence of that yet. I have not been able to pull these handles off just by going like this. But I also see no hardware. So I don't know how they're staying on. And maybe I'm just not giving it as much juice as I need to. But I really, really like this thing. So this was the company Piratech reached out to me and asked if I wanted to see this. And I just about did a spit take when I saw that, spit my coffee out at the computer, because this thing is beautiful. And I've seen it on other people's channels and was very excited they reached out to me. I love their logo. It's an octopus, and it's engraved in that titanium. So that's in relief. You can feel it. I have a special affinity towards octopi these days. My wife is really into octopuses. She's been reading books and watching video series and stuff about octopuses, and she's convinced that they come from another planet. And I'm not going to fight her on that. A, she's done more research, and B, you ever see an octopus change color or texture as it walks across the sea floor? It's crazy. And sometimes, just out of fun, they'll punch fish. They'll curl up their little tentacles and bang, just punch a fish. I could see that. I could see wanting to punch a fish if you're an octopus all the time, getting overshadowed by the fish swimming through the reef. Why not? Why not? It's not like they're going to sue you. So this is the Piratech Tsunami hidden hardware, and I'm going to get to the bottom of this and figure out if this is indeed the model that has scales held on by magnets. Very, very cool and beautiful knife. And to Piratech, I say thank you very much. I can't wait to really dig into this, carry this around, and do my review video. Next up, as you may have remembered, we just had Amazon Prime Day, and this had been in my cart for a long time, and it was even cheaper than usual, so I just bit the bullet and bought it. This is the Cold Steel Kudu. Now, you might be saying, Bob, you already have a Kudu. I've seen it. Well, that's the slip joint version, where the blade stays in just with this back strap. This is the real traditional, or their version of the traditional okapi knife. An okapi is that kind of animal, that sort of savanna deer kind of thing that runs fast. And here's a stylized version of it on the handle. The okapi knife, we did a bit about that here on the first tool, is a peasant's knife from South Africa. So today I mentioned the Higo no Kami, which is a sort of peasant or worker's knife from Japan. The okapi, O-K-A-P-I, is that sort of knife, except from South Africa. Traditionally, they have this ring here, which disengages the lock and allows you to shut it. This has a ratchet. So it's got about 6 stops, open and closed. And when it's fully opened, it's locked nicely. Now, these knives are known for being ultra, super inexpensive and cheap, and that's why they are a favorite of the street gangs of South Africa. As a matter of fact, there's a semi-codified version or style of knife fighting called Piper, which specializes in using this knife. And I'll have you know that the sound that the ring makes when it rattles is a big part of Piper. You'll see Piper guys doing this and shaking it around and being very elusive with it. That's about as far as my Piper knowledge goes. But we did have Brian Kanata of American Kalis on here, Southern Kalis, and he talked a lot about Piper. So a very cool fighting system, and I love the okapi knife. I don't have a traditional one, but now I have this cold steel version. And last up in the state of the collection is this little beauty. I've wanted this for quite some time. This is the Rajah 3. And this is the knife that inspired my look into Kukris today. But this was also a Amazon Prime Day purchase. It was kind of cut rate. And I didn't know they still made this, frankly. I thought that this was discontinued a while ago. But indeed, it is not. Still going strong in AUS 10A steel. You've got great triad lock action, some of the most fidgety triad action out there. I know people don't think of backlocks as fidgety, but as with all of the triad locks in the Cold Steel lineup, if you put your finger up in the front of the finger well and drop the blade, it will not cut you. So you can open and close these one-handed all day long, and they're very fun. And you know, this knife is just wickedly sharp, and you can tell from that Kukri style blade that it is a high performer. Also very, very comfortable in my medium, sometimes large size hands, sometimes large, when I'm retaining water. All right, so that said, I want to get to the kukri, but first, check out these awesome t-shirts and hats and aprons and things that Jim's come up with this week. I'm into long blades and short conversations. Yes, sir. I do understand that. I mean, I like myself a good chin wag. I like a good long conversation, especially when talking about knives. But sometimes you just don't want to be bothered. And this is for those times. Tell everyone what you stand for. Meet like-minded people. Go to theknifejunkie.com/shop and check out the pages and pages. I mean, we've got over 25 pages of merch there with lots of cool messages and lots of beautiful designs. So go check them out. And who knows, you might be out there in public with your Knife Junkie gear on. You're going to see someone else, and it's going to be an instant connection. So hopefully she's hot. Just kidding. All right. So first up, let's talk about the kukri. Now we know that the kukri is the knife of the Gurkha, the legendary soldier from Nepal, the special soldiers from Nepal. Now they became a part of the British Empire's fighting force and still are. And my brother-in-law, actually, when he was in the Marine Corps in the early 2000s, he was teamed up with some kukris. And I tried to get a hold of his Gurkha kukri, but I could not get it in time. They issued kukris to all the Marines, the kukris to all the Marines. So it's a pretty cool thing. But the first, I'm going to take you through traditional and also modern and new ones. But these two here are the traditional type. And I got this first one from my mom and dad when they went to India and Nepal in the 80s. I was but a pup, and they brought this back, and I had only seen this knife in pictures and thought it was kind of ugly and weird. And that's because I was ugly and weird. I was just a dumb adolescent kid. I had no idea the beauty and the power I was staring at. And then they brought this home, and they brought one home for my brother too. And we were just gobsmacked, like, oh my gosh, these are amazing. And they didn't have very sharp edges, but we changed that. We put very sharp edges on. This is still pretty damn sharp. But this is one of my oldest knives in my collection, period. I've had this one for a long time, but you can see that it's got the traditional, I'm not even sure what that is. I mean, we look at this today, we think it's a sharpening notch. I heard someone say not too long ago, I was at a whiskey and cigar hang, someone mentioned the kukri and how this is for when the blood runs down the blade, it stops there and drips down and doesn't get your hands wet. Now, I was like, I'm not even going to engage this. I just like that the guy knows about kukris. I think it has symbolism. I also think it could be used as a blade catch if you're going blade against blade, like a Spanish notch, but I highly doubt that either of those are the reason. I think it's probably more of a symbolic thing. This one is marked India and has that arrow. And the arrow makes me feel like this was at least made to look like part of the British, what do you want to call it, supply. Because if you look at certain things from World War II and maybe beyond, I'm not sure, but on British watches that were given to commandos, issued to commandos, they had the arrow, the upward pointing arrow that indicated that this was property of the crown. And when you're done using it in service of the crown, you give it back. So I kind of wonder if that's what that is. I also think that this one happens to be a tourist piece. So probably not. All right, I'm going to put these away. These are the traditional style Nepalese Kukris. Oh, and by the way, this one has the full leather scabbard with the two little knives in there. I, a long time ago, wrapped them with duct tape. That duct tape is possibly older than some of the audience, but it has kept those two knives together. So there they are. All right, I mentioned the Rajah 3 pocket kukri. Here is the Rajah 2. This is a beautiful kukri, folding kukri made by Cold Steel. And this one is in Aus 8 blade steel with the blasted blade. So this is an older one. Let's see, my brother gave this to me about 13 years ago when we moved into the house we live in right now. This one has that beautiful long clip that really allows you to be versatile with the pockets you put it in. That's one complaint I have about some of the XL Cold Steels. When they have the small clip, high mounted, it can be difficult to find the right pants. This will fit into any pair of pants, though it might pop out the top. You've got what mimics a traditional sort of horse hoof handle here. It really gives you, with this upswell here on the pommel and that pinky ring, it gives you a, not ring, but that pinky notch there. It gives you great leverage when chopping. This is a great knife to cheat your hand back on, to get the most out of your swing. You can come all the way up here if you're using this like a camp knife and you need to get close. You can come back here, which is kind of the standard way to hold it, or I like to have it back here. Now, I mentioned camp use, and that's the thing about the kukri. A lot of people think it was maybe derived from the kopis, the sword that Alexander the Great brought into India, because it had that same sort of, or falcata, had that same sort of downward heavy, forward heavy chopping blade. But these and the kukris are not intended to just be weapons, though they are fierce weapons and have a storied past as being weapons. They're also straight up camp knives, chopping knives for kindling, skinning animals, all your knife chores. This is like the Nepalese Bowie knife, if you will. And this just happens to be an awesome folding representation of it. The Rajah 2 and the Rajah 3. Next up, another folder. This one is called the Kami, K-A-M-I. This is designed by the great Dirk Pinkerton, and it is emulating a kukri. Kami, K-A-M-I, is the knife maker, the Nepalese knife makers who make kukris. They're called kamis. And just in speaking with Dirk and also seeing the name, I know that kukris were heavy on his mind when he was making this. He did, or when he was designing this, he did throw in some changes to the blade to make it more of an EDC friendly knife. For instance, he put that tip in the center line instead of pointing downward, so that you would get more EDC usage out of it, more universally easily used. This one is in titanium with S35VN. It also came in a, this is titanium and micarta, excuse me, with S35. This one also came in a full titanium with S90V blade steel, I believe. Really excellent knife. The handle encapsulates the hand really well between the flipper tab and the bird's beak pommel here. It also makes it excellent for reverse grip if you want to put that thumb right there on the pommel. Really, really great knife. One of my favorites from the year 2024 is this Kami. Oh, and then look at that. Beautiful micro milling all over this heavily chamfered knife. Gorgeous, gorgeous. All right, this next one is, I think, my absolute favorite folding kukri. And it is the Jason Knight designed Elements MK Ultra made by Fox. It's got a lot of names to it, but when this came out, this was the Knight Elements MK Ultra. Now I think you can just buy this straight from Fox, but don't quote me on that. It's got that beautiful kukri blade with the harpoon swedge and the very large fuller, very much in the Jason Knight design language. Jason Knight is just a cool guy. I got to have him back on the show. Very nice guy, very chill, and just an incredible forger of beautiful blades. And a lot of them look a lot like this. So it was no surprise when he came out with this folder. It just really captures the spirit not only of his knives and his sort of modernized take on the kukri, but the kukri itself. Look at the handle. The handle is a perfect folding representation of a kukri handle. Here it is with the more traditional style handle. With that flare, you get a lot of that same thing happening there. And made by Fox Knives, it's got really nice action, great fit and finish, beautiful titanium, Cerakoted, everything good to go. What is the blade steel on this? N690CO, as to be expected from Fox Knives. I think that's pretty much all they use. Maybe an occasional M390, but yeah, N690CO is the ticket over there. And this one I've had long enough. This was a birthday gift from my wife, who is the second biggest Forged in Fire fan that I know. And she loved Jason Knight. And when I said, oh, well, Jason Knight's got a knife I'd love to have for Christmas, she obliged. And it's always nice to have that sort of buy-in. You know, educate your ladies, or if you're a lady, educate your man on knives, and then get him excited, and the gifts will keep coming. I work with a guy, great guy, whose wife is a fan of this show, and he is not a knife guy, so he'll come to me occasionally for gift ideas, and I love that. All right, so this is the Night Elements MK Ultra folding kukri, made by Fox Knives, and taking on quite a nice little bit of wear on the corners. I love that. Okay, next up is a modernized version of the kukri, this time a fixed modernized version of the kukri, and from one of my all-time favorite knife designers, period, Bill Harsey Jr. Yep, you know it. This is the Spartan Blades Harsey Kukri. Another great modification in this style of knife. I mean, I feel like this style of knife has legs as the day is long. You've got a deep recurve here, but you still have that point on or close to the center line. It's a little bit below if I'm looking at the screws in the handle. Yeah, it's a little bit below, but the blade overall and the knife overall has a straight form factor. Yes, it does curve down a little bit, and it does have that deep recurve, but all things considered, it's a pretty straight knife. So I feel like it walks the tightrope really well. We could imagine that a heavily curved blade is going to be more specialized for chopping and slashing, less so for thrusting, though I have an argument about that. I think kukris are quite easy to thrust, and you can do so without even like canting your wrist at all. But to those of us who are familiar with a more traditional straight overall profiled knife, this kukri designed by Bill Harsey and masterfully produced by Spartan Blades really nails it. You have a very emblematic signature style handle from Bill Harsey. I mean, his Gerber Rock from back in the day is a cheap big box store knife from Gerber designed by Bill Harsey, had that same sort of profiled handle. It just works. Great jimping here, great finger protection, and then great palm swells that flare out not only at the palm, but also at the pommel. So it makes it that much more difficult to loose this from your hand when you're swinging, chopping, and coming into contact with things. This one, to me, I got to say, is more combat than utility blade. Maybe that's the lens through which I look at knives, but to me, this one favors the combat part first. Though in utility, I have heard from many people that this is a great knife. As you can tell by looking at my example, I have not done much except maybe swipe a few vines with it. The one thing that sticks in my craw about this knife is in the sheath. And I know that a lot of this is not exclusive to this sheath. See that? It's got a little thing you got to push to release the blade. I think they have that on the new K-Bar Slabby. I know they have this on the other Bill Harsey designed Spartan blades. I do not like that. I don't think that you should have to rely on this sort of thumb manipulation to draw the knife. I can see that on like a holster or something that a cop is carrying, a police officer is carrying with a pistol or whatever. Yeah, you might want that little extra bit of, but what if you're carrying this and you need to draw it in reverse grip, or need to, even if you had this thing lashed to your leg, if you needed to draw this and you didn't have that thumb available to push off, you're kind of out of luck unless you just get rid of it altogether. So that's one thing I'm not crazy about. I do understand that it precludes the need to have a strap to lash it down and all that, whatever that implies. And you don't need something going around the handle. But as a trade-off, I don't think that's fair, because I would rather have something with a strap that I don't have engaged or buckled and be able to pull it out and drop it back in without it without needing that manipulation. Maybe I've gone too far, but the rest of the knife really outshines that one little tarnish spot on the sheath. What do you think of this knife? All right, next up, this was a gift from my good friend Dave of OG Blade Reviews. And this thing is huge. This is the biggest kukri I have. And I have some other Bud K style kukris. I have one that another listener sent me, and unfortunately I have it stashed in an emergency spot. But this one is the biggest. Now, this is made by a company called Traditional Filipino Weapons. Now, before you start typing, it's not a Filipino knife. It's so funny how many times I've shown this knife and said, this is a kukri, a traditional Nepalese knife made by smiths in the Philippines for a company called Traditional Filipino Weapons. It's a lot. I get it. But this is a, you know how we're American, perhaps, and we make knives that might be an ode to Japan or anywhere else. It's kind of the same thing here. Traditional Filipino Weapons making a traditional Nepalese weapon. They do a lot of other non-Filipino weapons as well, but everything they do is just awesome, including this kukri. Incredibly sharp. I mean, they do not half step it with the edge, and it's got a lot of weight up front, a lot of mass, and then it's got this beautiful, I think this is camagong wood, that super hard wood from the Philippines. And then you have some traditional file work up the back of the handle there, some jimping, just because. And then there's the Traditional Filipino Weapons logo. It's a crossed Chris and Talibang or something, or some other knife, some other big Filipino sword. But this one here, I'm going to show this on the big screen so that you can see how big this thing is. I mean, this is a large knife. Is it a short sword? Not quite yet, but it's getting there. And it's incredibly intimidating and menacing. Comes in a great sheath too, leather wrapped wooden sheath. Most of the traditional Filipino weapons, like you see on the wall, have a wooden sheath. So this is pretty much the same. It doesn't have the two little accessory blades on it, but I don't even know what those things are for, frankly. All right, I'm going to put this one away before I hurt myself. This is the Traditional Filipino Weapons made kukri. All right, last up in this cavalcade of kukris is a Cold Steel. Yes, you know it was going to be a Cold Steel. This is the most ridiculous and possibly the most intimidating kukri in my collection, and it is the Cold Steel Chaos Kukri. And like all Chaos models, it comes with this cast aluminum D-guard for protecting your hands and smashing things. It is really stout and sturdy, and like I said, very intimidating. It's got a full tang that comes all the way through the handle. You've got 2 mechanical connections here with these bolts, and then a third mechanical connection here with the skull crusher that is screwed on there. These are SK5 blade steel, so a carbon steel, so tough. These will take a lot of abuse, and you've got that incredibly weight forward, tip down, heavy chopping curved blade. I got to say, this would be one heck of a melee weapon. I think it's complete with this D-guard. The thing I like about the D-guard on the Chaos series is that it splits the hand. You're not trying to make your finger go into each individual hole. When you do that, hand size matters too much. Like, for instance, this 1918 trench dagger fits my hand perfectly, but most corn-fed modern guys who are giant, that would be too small. So I guess I would have fit in size-wise in World War I. Here we have room, we have a lot of room on both sides of this center partition to put your fingers, and they fit. You can fit a big paw in there. So that's what I love about this. I don't think it looks as cool as the individual knuckle duster finger holes, but sometimes it's not about looks. Sometimes it's about utility, and this screams utility. Yes, that's my Cold Steel Chaos Kukri. Here's the Secure-X sheath. It works great. I like the way it has a little arrow. Careful. Do not put your hand here when you're drawing it out, or you will get sliced. All right, tell me about your Kukris. I know you guys are dying to, because we got some Kukri lovers in the audience here, and I suspect I haven't shown enough traditional Kukris for the liking of this crowd, but let me know. Drop it in the comments below. We're at 42,000 subs. When we get to 50,000, Dirk Pinkerton is going to make a custom knife for me to give to you, any one of you. You don't even have to be a member or a gentleman junkie. You just have to be a subscriber. So when we get to 50,000 subscribers, I'm giving away a custom-made Dirk Pinkerton fixed blade, and we don't know what it's going to be yet. So do stay tuned for that. And if you're not subscribed, by gum, subscribe. All right, for Jim working his magic behind the switcher, I'm Bob DeMarco saying, until next time, don't take dull for an answer.
Thanks for listening to the Knife Junkie podcast. If you enjoyed the show, please rate and review at reviewthepodcast.com. For show notes for today's episode, additional resources, and to listen to past episodes, visit our website, TheKnifeJunkie.com. You can also watch our latest videos on YouTube at TheKnifeJunkie.com/YouTube.